This excitement, it's contagious, isn't it? I'm just so happy to be here. And I want to actually give a big thank you to the host, Incheon City. Really appreciate that. The conference organizers, especially Miss Karen Choi. Hopefully I can embarrass her a little bit, but she's been so helpful and really appreciate that. Starburst Managing Director Sang-Dawn Kim, and of course Mr. Kwang Ho-an, Director of Aviation Division of Incheon, who we've been doing some work for a period of time with the World Economic Forum's Advanced and Urban Air Mobility Cities and Regions Coalition. So I'm so happy to be here. It's been many years since I've been to South Korea. Back in my fighter pilot years, I visited here very quickly for what really felt like a moment. And I'm just so happy to be back. And so thank you so much for the invite. So as many of you may know, I'm the lead for Massachusetts aviation for all things aviation, as well as for unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility. And in context, advanced air mobility includes regional air mobility and urban air mobility. So in the United States, you hear a lot of folks, it's changed over the years, but a lot of people speaking about advanced air mobility. But I'm here today representing the World Economic Forum's Advanced and Urban Air Mobility Cities and Regions Coalition. And I was very fortunate to be selected as inaugural chair for this organization and had a chance to work with leaders across the world, and including Mr. An, and so it's been wonderful. The World Economic Forum's Advanced and Urban Air Mobility Cities and Regions Coalition accomplished a lot, and we were able to identify stakeholders from across the globe that we wanted to engage. We were able to really identify barriers and challenges that we needed to move forward. And most importantly, we really were able to identify a path forward. And so I'm very happy to be able to announce that the World Economic Forum has created a new construct for advanced and urban air mobility called AVIATE. And if you can read the letters there, it's Advancing Aviation Innovation and Autonomous Technology for Everyone. And together we can responsibly deploy. The operative word is responsibly deploy advanced aviation capabilities, including the deployment of automation and autonomy broadly in the air domain, including the third dimension, and realizing the benefit that has. We believe that the air domain will happen first with respect to autonomy. But when we're thinking about what we're looking at with this new AVIATE initiative, it's broadly across everything from small drones delivering packages right through larger vehicles. And so with that in mind, let's see if it works. Okay, very good. So the mission is to advance responsible autonomy within aviation. And so we have a global stakeholder community that we're putting together to actually think about safe, sustainable, and reliable and equitable deployment of autonomous technologies. With respect to that, we think about automation and autonomy across the continuum. And you know, when we start, automation's been around a long time, and we're going to move towards more and more autonomy over the years. We're going to identify use cases and best practices to maximize the benefits and reduce the risks. And we're going to advance deployment across the globe, leveraging the World Economic Forum's Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution's centers, affiliate centers. There's 18 of those across the globe. And the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, it helps stakeholders harness the full potential of technological process for the equitable and human-centered transformation of industries, economies, and societies. So with that said, that's the mission, right? And so why AVIATE and why now? Because a lot of what we want to do to really reap the benefits of these new novel technologies in the air domain is going to require automation and ultimately on that continuum to autonomy. Public acceptance remains a huge hurdle to realizing the benefits and of the autonomy. And the realization that autonomy will really have profound social and economic benefits. And so we're going to see that. Collaboration's the key. Collaboration's the key. And so we have to work hard to understand those benefits and address the challenges. So the key questions to explore. So the one thing that I noticed with the automation and autonomy conversation, we're taking on the tough questions with that, and that's absolute, right? So what is meant by the term autonomy in aviation? We actually have to define that. We have to have the appropriate lexicon, and it has to be a global lexicon, and it has to be understood by the public and society. So what's the impact on aviation from drones right through larger vehicles? The roles of pilots, air traffic control, and other actors, think U-Space and UTM. How humans and autonomy will work in the future. We hear a lot about human factors in the work that we're doing. We hear about humans in the loop. We hear about humans on the loop. What does all that mean? And how does that translate into deployment of capabilities that will change our lives for the better? And what is necessary to recognize greater autonomy? What is driving autonomy and what use cases exist, right? And we feel that to scale, we'll be able to have a high bar for safety, and really it will be necessary. The new use cases and business models that are yet to be defined. So a lot of you here, I can't wait to have conversations with you, trying to figure out what the business is, right? There's a business, though. There's definitely a business here. And so, and I think all of us agree that this is going to be very important. The timeline for increased mobility and wider societal and economic benefits. So we'll be working hard on that. And then how do we advance autonomy within aviation? We got to unlock those barriers. The regulatory environment's a big hurdle. We have some technological challenges that along that continuum. We have to really think about as we proceed through the autonomy continuum, you know, that we think about that. And we got to build the public trust. We have to be ethical and we have to be safe. What are the regulators and other stakeholders' needs, right? We've got to work with all of them. So bringing industry, government, and academia together with civil society. And what are how do we build that ecosystem to integrate different levels of autonomy in the future? What does responsible integration look like? What does that look like? It's going to be interesting to see how that actually plays out. The beauty of it is that we have time, but we actually we need the right construct and architecture to actually start scaling early. And so we got to think about the negative impacts, even perceived, and then to ensure safety and security, and to prepare current and future workforce. So I was so happy to hear that already this morning. So, and it's a really, I just want to thank K-UAM Confex for the forward thinking on that. And the best practices and safeguards are needed. You know, so that's a lot there. That's a lot. And so those are the key questions. Let's see here. So how do we drive that impact, right? So we're going to be engaging in the, excuse me for 1 second here. Okay, so we're going to be looking at balancing the awareness of aviation autonomy. We're going to be sharing best practices, and we're going to be informing local and global employment overall. So with respect to that, our work plan is really to create an aviation stakeholder handbook, best practices for responsible deployment document, and an AVIATE India concept of operations. How to engage with AVIATE is listed here. So the forum has reached out to a variety of stakeholders to begin with. So the initial group we have together, some by invitation activities that we are conducting, and then there are some open activities with respect to webinars that AVIATE will conduct. And there will also be other activities at a variety of different events across the globe as we go forward at locations with the Center for a Fourth Industrial Revolution. And then there will be invitations at local Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution National Center events. So the schedule of events, and so August and September saw a flurry of activity with some face-to-face meetings and consultations with some of the initial stakeholders that were looked at. There was also some conversations within India. We just had our first webinar, and actually a workshop, excuse me, that we just had among the group. And we're able to really hit the ground running, we feel like. And so across the time period here that's shown really a calendar year here, we're going to have a series of webinars, workshops, activities, including in India with some work that we're doing on the ground, as well as in Israel. And at the Farnborough Air Show is the last event that we show on this particular one-year calendar. For those of you that would like to participate at any level, please, my colleagues and friends, David Hyde is the World Economic Forum Autonomous Systems Lead, Vignesh Santhanam from the forum's India location, and Pierre Marie as well. So with that said, there's detailed work plans, but they're not detailed at all. We just want to make sure that everyone realizes that we're putting together deliverables that are not meant to be something that are going to sit on a shelf. These are to be used. That's the way that we're architecting these. And it starts with an aviation stakeholder handbook to really address public perception challenges on realistic expectations, and because it still seems like a pipe dream to many. And so we really have to make sure that we understand who the stakeholders are and what they need. We need to educate. We definitely need to educate because we want to really get community acceptance, community integration, and we start with community education. And we're going to build consensus around autonomous flight. What does that mean even? And we've really got to talk about that appropriately. And then we're going to actually create a document about the best practices for responsible deployment. And we understand that automation and autonomy can benefit areas as safety, efficiency, and accessibility and address challenges. And we're going to bring together industry, academia, government, and civil society to develop that list, a usable list, something that everyone can use. And then with this big effort, I'm very excited about this concept of operations effort going on with AVIATE in India. And India, we're going to be building on the World Economic Forum's Medicine from the Sky work that was extremely successful and really posited India as a leader in this area. And we're going to convene a group of international and national stakeholders to actually create that concept of operations to lay the groundwork within India, the regulatory, technological, and operational requirements that we're all thinking about, everyone here at this meeting and convening. This will pave the way for introducing and evolving advanced air mobility and services in India as a reference point for other countries. And then just to mention quickly, there are some regional partnerships outside of AVIATE within the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution that are already being accomplished in India, in Israel, and in Saudi Arabia, who's really super interested in participating and they're putting in the resources in that end. So again, so happy to be with you. I'd be happy to have some further discussions on the World Economic Forum's new initiatives, as well as with any of the work that we're doing within Massachusetts. Thank you so much.